Hey guys, this is Born to Pun coming at you with my second ever cast of any game. My first, yesterday I posted it, was a TVT between Haya and Mind. I got a couple views on there, and the small amount of feedback I got, which was appreciated, it was all positive, and so I thought, hey, I have some time today, why not do another? So I found this game. I also found this one posted from the Reddit r/StarCraft sub, and this is going to be a ZVP between Killer and Shuttle. So I've got the map Jade pulled up here, so we can take a quick look. It's sort of similar to Fighting Spirit if you watched that game yesterday, in that it's a four-person map, and each corner is a spawning location which has sort of three bases. It's natural, and then it's third, kind of segmented into a triangle. One interesting thing to note about this map is that you do go uphill. You go up a ramp to get into your natural instead of down the ramp, which is way more common, and that can present some interesting dynamics. And then you do go back down that ramp to get out into the general center of the map, which has, on its own, another raised platform. So there's a lot of up and down going on here. The way that fighting up a ramp works in Brood War is different than SC2. There is a mischance. God, I think that's right. Hopefully that's right. If it's not, hopefully someone will tell me, but I'm pretty sure there's just a mischance when you're firing uphill. It's like 1 in 3, so even if you have vision, you'll miss a certain amount of the time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. If not, someone tell me in the comments below. Again, my Brood War knowledge has decayed a little bit just because I haven't played in so long, but it's all coming back to me quickly, and I'm sure if I keep casting games, I'll get there quick. One other quick announcement is I'm thinking about casting tomorrow. There is some, it's at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, tomorrow being Friday the 21st of November. There's going to be some show match involving 4 players, including Bisu. And I'm thinking about casting that live, doing a live stream. So if you're interested, leave a comment below and let me know. If there's enough interest, I'll try and put it together and do it. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. So let me know if you're interested. Let me know if you like this video. Let me know what you want to see more of. I'm really just doing these commentaries for fun right now. I don't expect I'll be doing a lot of them in the future, but I definitely have some time over the next week or so, and I can do a few more. And hey, if I really like it, I'll keep doing them for a long time. So if there's a certain kind of game you want to see, or even a specific game, send it to me, and I'll probably do it next week, or within the next week, because I'm enjoying it right now and I got the time. So hope you guys enjoy that. That's done with the intro, and let's go into the game. Again, this is a ZVP between Killer and Shuttle, and this is going to be, oops, I gotta go back to the beginning here. This is going to be on Jade. This is going to be a first-person view from, who is this from? Okay, it's from Killer. It's from our Zerg player Killer. So Killer was a good Zerg. He was back on Jadong's team in the Brood War scene, which was Hwaisung Oz. I never know how to pronounce it. I say Hwaisung. I'm sure there's a better way to say it. But his nickname is Mini Dong. Dong, of course, referring to Jadong. So he is like the Jadong is Mr. Miyagi, and this guy is Daniel-san. That's the way to think about it. And he's going up against Protoss Shuttle, who was a decent Protoss in his own right. He certainly wasn't elite, but he was good. You know, I'd say when the Brood War scene ended, the best Terrans were Flash and Fantasy. The best Zergs were Jadong. I think Sulky was up there, and Effort. And the best Protosses, who were the best Protosses? Bisu and Stork, maybe? I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, and there's a lot of good players, but those were like the best 2 or 3 of their respective races, and then you had a whole bunch of A-teamers below that. So, you know, Shuttle and Killer were both, I think, solid A-teamers. I don't think either of them ever won a major, an OSL or an MSL or anything. I could be wrong on that, especially with Killer. Killer may have won one, but I don't think he did. But anyways, we're going into ZVP here. I was always a Terran player, so my ZVP knowledge is going to be the worst. I'll try and do what I can. I obviously know how the units interact and the basic strategy, but I don't know the build orders, I don't know the timings, anything like that. So, again, kind of like yesterday, this isn't going to be a super high-level analysis, but I'll try and get the basic stuff right, and hopefully we have some fun along the way. So, Ooh, some interesting little trying to block the ramp there with his probe and trying and succeeding really, keeping the drone inside the base. The drone wants to go up there and expand, and now the probe just recharges his shields and forces another drone to come up. So he's actually delaying this expansion by quite a bit. This is one of those. I think this is because that ramp goes up and he's able to do this. I think. I don't know if the mischance operates when the two workers are fighting on the ramp like that. But now the toss is going to come back and he's going to be annoying. See, the killer is trying to put that hatchery down, but oh, and he gets it down. The probe was able to dance in and out of the location where the hatchery wanted to go down, which kept canceling it. And sometimes it can be kind of like a yakety sax sort of thing, where the drone and the probe are running around for a long time, and the Protoss player can really keep that hatchery from going down, which can be significant. That's delay does matter. That's not an insignificant victory. So the Zerglings are out. He's going to take down this probe, and he's going to try and get some scouting of his own. He's got an Overlord in place, but you see the forge going up, and that's surely that must be a gateway next to it with the cannon behind. So both players have now secured their naturals. And I think we'll see Zerg take a third here. Yep, there it is. He's choosing to kind of put it over there on the far end of the map rather than take his natural third down here. I think you guys can see my mouse on the mini-map. If not, I'm pointing to the one on the kind of the right, just above his main. I think the reason he took this is because he fears, well, maybe for two reasons. One, he fears this short air distance here. And TOS will often get air units. In fact, usually get air units. I think it's standard to get at least Corsairs, although I could be wrong about that. And two, the other advantage is this is like less likely to be scouted, and he's expanding away. And so I think what we'll see is Killer is going to try and expand kind of in this direction. And if he secures this, then he can easily take a fourth and a fifth here. So. It looks like he's at least setting himself up for a longer style strategy here. Although, again, this is ZVP. I could be wrong. Don't take anything I say in ZVP with anything other than a large grain of salt. So we're at that stage now where Protoss doesn't really have any options for moving out of his base. If he goes out with Zealots and Dragoons, he risks getting Zerglings surrounded and just losing his entire army. Not that the armies are particularly big right now, but you still don't want to lose it. So he's sending out probes, trying to get scouting off. But Killer's doing a really nice job with the Zerglings being active and denying any scouting, which is always important. The lair goes up, so we should. In fact, I think we just did see the Spire go down. That's a key timing, and then. This is a first-person VOD, not a third-party OBS, so we don't know what Killer's building, but I expect he's got a starport finishing up kind of right about now in this general area. I think usually the starport, Stargate is the Protoss building. I think the Stargate usually finishes before the Spire, I think. So we might see some Corsairs kind of dance onto the screen at some point. He's got some Zealots out. Zealots are much stronger than Zerglings. You don't really want to fight Zealots head on with your Zerglings unless your Zerglings got some backup like Lurkers or Hydras. But the problem with Zealots is they're slow, and Zerglings are quite quick. Zealots aren't that slow, but until they get their speed upgrade, they're not going to catch Zerglings. And if he moves out, those Zerglings can run right by, get a scout, maybe snipe some workers. So TOS is still stuck in his base. We're seeing Killer take his fourth base. I'd expect him to take his fifth relatively soon. And he's getting that +1 Carapace upgrade. And there's the Corsair. Okay. So I called it a little early, but it did in fact come. Killer's going to respond with a Hydra Den. And he's also going to have Mutas and Scourge at his disposal if he wants to make those. And there's a Scourge. 2 Scourge will snipe a Corsair. Corsair can also micro against Scourge, although it's not easy. So that'll be something to watch, and hopefully we get to see that. So there goes there. Does 1 Scourge kill a Corsair? That doesn't sound right. I think it can't be 1, right? Oh gosh, I wish I knew that. But I only saw one there. Maybe two hit it and I just didn't see the first one. But I thought it's got to be two. I'm going to assume it's two. And I'll check after this game and hopefully not eat my words too hard. Zerg SimCity against Toss is really important. You gotta protect your base, especially before you have Lurkers and Darkstorm out. You gotta protect your bases with Sunkens. And if you hide them behind buildings, it makes them orders of magnitude stronger. So that's what he's doing. He's building his macro hatches, which you need just to make more units, because one hatch at each base won't give you enough larvae. And then he's building SimCity with his buildings to protect those Sunkens against any sort of attack. We're at the stage now, obviously, he's no longer containing the toss. We have DTs out too, but he's got good overlord placement. He's got overlords all of his entrances. He's going to deflect this fairly easily, unless there's a shuttle that gets one into his base. Nice little scout there, sees the 4 Corsairs, so he knows he's got to worry about that. And he's scouting all the expansions, it looks like, so he's got a pretty good idea of what's going on. He looks pretty defended, and he's got 4 bases, so he's in a pretty comfortable position right now. I wouldn't say he hasn't really done anything to put him ahead in the game, but he's comfortable and he's in a good spot. The next few minutes will be really interesting. See, he doesn't want to hit that engagement. He'll just lose a lot of Zerglings, and he won't really kill many Zealots, if any. He's just going to keep dancing around. He could have gone for a run by there, although it probably wouldn't have worked. That was probably a bad idea by me. And he's just macroing up. We saw him put the Queen's Nest down so he can get to that hive tech. These Corsairs are starting to get somewhat significant in numbers, so I wonder if he'll start building Hydras to take care of those. The thing about using Scourge against Corsairs is they're good when the Corsairs are in small numbers, but once the Corsairs get into a big amount, the splash damage they do and their speed means you can micro them against Scourge, and if you're good as the tops player, you can snipe them, and that's certainly something that's within Killer's skill level. So, sorry, within Shuttle's skill level. So Killer, I think he'll need some Hydras at some point. Although having one or two spores, at least protecting your drone lines, will probably be enough until he wants to move out. The other thing about Corsairs is they can make that disruption web. So if you let the tops build up a large number of Corsairs, and then they research disruption web, they can really screw with your range units in battle. What D-Web does, it's an upgrade for the Corsair, and it lets you plop down it's about the size of like a Vespian Geyser. It's about that area of effect. It lets you plop down an AoE effect that basically means I think it just applies to ranged units, or is it? No, I think it's all units. If you're under that web, you can't attack. So it's really good against static D, like spore colonies, but it can also be good against your group of Hydras. It's not every game that you see Toss players get a bunch of Corsairs and go D-Web, but if you got a bunch of them, if you got 5 or 6 of them or more, and the Zerg player's not sniping them, it can be an upgrade worth getting just because it lets you deny their units from attacking, which if their units aren't attacking, you're probably going to be winning the battle, right? That's advanced StarCraft strategy for you guys. So what's going on? He's still being active with those lings. If you watch the minimap, he's still just constantly darting about. He sees that another base is going up here. And I guess right now, Killer's just waiting for his lurker tech. I assume he's just waiting for a bunch of lurkers before he can move out. And then eventually he'll also want to get defilers. What defilers do, if you're not familiar, they're a caster unit, and their main ability is Darkstorm, and it's sort of similar to Disruption Web. What it does is it throws down an AOE, a pretty big AOE. I'd say it's bigger than a hatchery even, and any ranged unit under it. Any unit under it cannot be attacked by a ranged unit. So if you put something under the disruption, under the Dark Swarm, then it's protected against range. So you'll see Zerg move in with a bunch of lings and lurkers and just throw down Dark Storms everywhere. And then goons, dragoons can't attack. Reavers, I think it'll also affect Reavers. So it's really good for melee-based armies. And obviously Zerglings are melee. The thing about Brood War, if you're coming from a StarCraft 2 background, is Zerglings are actually ridiculous in the amount of DPS they can do, especially when you get that adrenal... Is it adrenal glands? They have two upgrades, right? One is speed, and one is attack speed. And I think adrenal glands is... Well, you know, I'm really not sure. Adrenal glands is one of them, I'm pretty sure, but I can't remember the other one. But the point is, you can't get the attack speed upgrade until you have Hive technology. So he's getting that now, if he hasn't already. I haven't been paying close enough attention. That may have been it right there. We're seeing Darkstorm. That wasn't Darkstorm. Was that Consume? I think being researched. So he's really getting everything, and he's not going to move out until he's got everything he wants. He knows he's winning on economy, I think, because he's just got so many bases. Although, now that I say that, he's only up by one base, which in his EVP is, I think, standard. You want to be ahead by one base of your opponent. But he's got those lurkers now. He's putting them down. Those are going to be great at holding lines, and he's got enough links. But here's the problem, right? He only took out 1 or 2 Corsairs there, and I'm not sure how many are left, but if it's a significant amount, those will be annoying. They can't do any damage. They can't harass because they can't shoot ground. But if they get full scouts off and they snipe your overlords, they can be very annoying. And it's possible that they'll win a game. It's pretty rare that Corsairs just win toss a game, but if you get enough of them, it's happened. So here are the Hydras. Those will make quick work of the Corsairs in any amount of numbers, really. Any amount of Hydras will make quick work of Corsairs, is what I mean. And here he is. He's moving in for the bust. He's just going to go straight in. And I think, unless he has any Darkstorm, I don't know if this is going to work. It looks like he's consuming some Zerglings to get that mana point for the Darkstorm. He needs to get a Darkstorm down there if he wants to bust this. Otherwise, I think he's going to lose all these units. Because there's a lot of cannons there, and cannons do quite well against Lings and against Lurkers in small numbers. That's why you just need the Darkstorm. So here we go. It looks like he might try it again. He's consuming Zerglings with all his Defilers. He's gonna have enough mana points on there. He's got a good handful of units. And there it is. There's the Darkstorm. So he runs in, and now all those units are protected. You can see Toss throwing on the Side Storms, but it's just not enough. And you know, even one Lurker under a Darkstorm can do a lot of damage, unless there are. I think you need Zealots there to clean it up, because that's their melee. That's their melee unit. He's got some nice macro going behind this. Keeping his minerals and gas nice and low is always a mark of a good player. Did he research Ovi drop? It kind of looked like he was loading up units into the Overlord there, although I might have just misseen it. And I'm a little surprised he hasn't taken his 5th base until now, but indeed it does look like it's going down. It just finished, so he is still staying one ahead of Shuttle on the gases. Ooh, a nice chance to catch some transferring probes there. Doesn't get. Not sure if he got a single one. But here we go. This is where Zerg wants to be with their army. They want to be, and I don't mean location-wise, although sieging your opponent's base is always nice, but they want to have that nice mixture of Lings, Reavers, and he's gonna get a couple Reavers there, and those are expensive units. Lings, Lurkers, and Defilers. That's really the late game composition, with just a couple Hydras mixed in for some DPS and some anti-air. That's pretty much a complete army there. You really have everything you need. Eventually, he may transition into Ultras, but I don't know if he necessarily will. We saw him throw down a Plague there. Plague is another ability cast by the Defiler, which basically does damage to the unit, but you can't kill a unit with Plague. You can only bring it down to 1 HP. And against Protoss, it won't do any shield damage, but it'll bring their actual HP down to 1. So obviously it's a great way to soften up units. And we got some DTs here, but he's got an Overlord there, so that shouldn't do too much damage. We're seeing a drop. I'm guessing it's a Storm drop, and it is. Getting a couple Storms down, but only getting 1 or 2 drones there. Nice reaction from Killer. Storm drops are one of those kind of exciting moments, because you can kill a whole drone line if the player doesn't react quickly. So it's always kind of exciting to watch. That was actually really a nice reaction against by Killer in this game, which is now in like full late game macro mode, and he still has that minimap awareness to make that drone pull is pretty impressive. Okay, it looks like there's an attack going up against what he's trying to take as his 7th base. He's probably going to lose that, I'm saying, based just on the amount of red on the minimap. I can't imagine him defending that, so that's pretty much gone. So now it's 6th base, and I gotta think that Toss has taken his 5th base in the top corner up here. I gotta think he's taking that if he hasn't taken it already. So and I just missed a giant storm drop, didn't I? I looked back at the actual screen just in time to see a bunch of red, and there it is. So, that's the damage I was talking about, the damage potential for storm drops. There it is, right? And that's frustrating as a Zerg player. You pull the drones once, you make a really nice pull, save all your drones, and then you think you're safe, and 30 seconds later, the toss brings them back, and storm drops again, and you lose them all. That's StarCraft, right? You're always on the edge of the knife. There's always a play your opponent can make that can kind of pull them back into the game. Not that Shuttle's behind right now, but I guess I'd call this a pretty even game. We're starting to see maxed armies engaging. They haven't had a big head-to-head confrontation yet. It's only been small skirmishes, so I'm curious to see if we are, and it looks like we are. It looks like we are going to see a big head-to-head battle, just because Shuttle's coming marching down with a whole army, and this is a very scary army to deal with. He's got those Archons, which are very powerful. He's got Storm. I think he has a couple Reavers. I saw Reavers a while ago, and I haven't seen him die. So I'm assuming he's got Reavers in a Shuttle somewhere. So there's a lot of splash damage. There's a lot of heavy hitting units, and there's a good amount of melee units. So really, in order to fight this, he needs to get good engages. He needs to get his units positioned well. He has to have his Hydras in the back, not taking damage, because Hydras do a lot of DPS, but they also die quick to Reavers, to Archons. Even to Zealots, they're not that great if they're just hitting each other. Looks like he's trying to get a drop here. He doesn't really want to engage head-on, and I can't fault him for that, because that Toss army is scary. But it's also right at his doorstep, so he can't just dance around forever, or he'll start losing bases. It looks like Toss is pulling back, though. Toss is somewhere in the middle of the map. He's moving to the right. If he can, he's just going to go for the counterattack. He's got some forces back here, and frankly, I don't think it's enough to fight if Tosh just moves in. But maybe with some well-positioned lurkers and some well-positioned dark storms, maybe he can at least, maybe he can hold. And what he's trying to do is he's going for the counter up in the top left. He's got a fair amount of units. Looks like it's mostly Hydra Ling, and if there's nothing to defend that, these cracklings, these upgraded speedlings, will just do so much damage against any sort of buildings that they'll just take it out. There's a little engagement here, and I wish we were seeing that, because I want to show you guys just how much damage these Archons do. There it is. Archons just dominate, but they are taking a lot of damage from the Lurkers, and if he sniped the Observer, then the Archons can't see the Lurkers, and Lurkers will just kill everything, or at least force it back. Here it is. Here's the Lings and Hydras just doing so much DPS. There are the Reavers, which shoot their explosive scarabs and do quite a bit, but there's just so much here. There's just so much DPS here from the Zerg player that they're going to take that base out, and that's a big win. The way his EVP works, as far as I know, I think this is true, is that the Zerg player always wants to be one ahead on bases. And so if they had split the map evenly, like right here, that would have meant that Protoss got the same number of bases as the Zerg, and on even bases, Tosh should be ahead. So they're kind of having a fight over this base. And if Zerg takes this base, then Zerg would be up 2 bases to 1, or sorry, by 2 bases, 8 total to 6 total, and then Zerg would have been 2 bases ahead, so they'd be ahead by 1 base more than they should be. So whoever ends up mining most from this base, I think, in a long macro game, sort of has the advantage, and as long as they trade normally in battles, then they should win based on resources. So here's moving in. He's getting nice Dark Storms going down, and we're seeing a Dark Archon come out. Dark Archons are probably one of the rarer units in the game. At least they At least they were when I stopped, or when Brood War ended. I did see the guy that posted this VOD on Reddit. I saw him make a comment about Dark Archons not being that, not being as rare as they used to be in ZVP. But oh geez, this right here is the power of the Protoss army. Archon, Storm. It's just so much damage output that any sort of grouped pack of Lings or Hydras just gets demolished. So he's going to lose the rest of that army up there, but he's moving in with the second army. He's going to try and come in from behind, and if he can get some good Lurkers down and get some good Darkstorms, he can trap this entire army. But he's backing up at least for now. He's bringing in some reinforcements. I think he's going to go for this. I think he wants to commit here. If he can take out this army, he's in great shape. But oh man, he's just going to throw away a lot of Lings. He does snipe one Templar, probably not worth it, but at least you're sniping that gas-intensive unit. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so Dark Archons. I guess, according to that one post, you know, they're coming back into the, or maybe they are back in the meta. We're seeing more Storm drops. This is so good. Oh, and he's getting quite a few drones there. Keeps the Temps alive, and Zealot run by on the right side. That's a nice little double-pronged attack, trying to keep Killer's attention divided. And in late games, a small pack of Zealots with their speed upgraded, 5-6 Zealots, that's a pretty cheap investment, and if you can go snipe a Nexus, that pays off in a big way. And it's just a small amount of minerals, it costs you no gas. If you throw them in there and all the Zealots just die, you can live with that, not too big of a deal. But if you snipe one of the Zerg's remaining mining bases, it's a big win. So I like those plays, and doing it at the same time as dropping Temps on the left side, you increase the chances of either or both of those working much better than if you did one at a time. So it's always nice to see double prong harass, sometimes you even see triple prong harass, and as long as the player is doing it well, it can be extremely effective. So that base that we were talking about earlier, up in the kind of like the top left, I guess I'd call it the 10 o'clock position, or maybe the 9:30. That one, I think right now is not taken. I think both sides have tried to take it at least once and had it destroyed by their opponent. And we've sort of fallen into a situation here where each side is kind of retreated to their side of the map, regrouped, and now we're going to see an engagement. And Toss wants to engage. We're seeing Plagues go down, big storms. Ooh, those do a lot of damage. And both sides kind of pull back. I'm not sure who came out ahead there. I think that actually Protoss traded better in that engage, but Zerg has such a big, and I should try and call them Killer and Shuttle. I keep calling them Protoss and Zerg. Killer has such a big bank right now that he can just remax instantly, and you can see right after that battle was done, he was back at 200 supply within seconds. Toss can't remax as quickly. Toss needs to take a good engagement here and then get something afterwards. He needs to go kill a base or kill some kill some drones, or even kill some tech structures or something. But if they just keep fighting out in the middle of the map, I think Toss is going to lose this because he's just doesn't have so many resources. I think it's always hard to say in the first-person VOD. Good Storms going down here. Storm is just wrecking the Hydras, and he's trying to reposition Lurkers, but Lurkers by themselves aren't enough because they need that meat wall. They need something to keep their units, their enemy at bay while they just shoot their spines off. Sniping a shuttle would be big here, but that speed shuttle just barely gets away. I'm going to try and keep my eye on the minimap for another Templar drop. There it is. And these are all grouped. The drones are all grouped, and they're all going to die. That's a big Templar drop. I guess the silver lining is most of those minerals were mined anyways, but you still don't want to lose drones for nothing. You could have transferred them, or, I don't know, done something with them. Although he seems to have... Yeah, he could have moved into that base where there's no drones. So he's going in, and now he's just going to siege the main. He's saying, I think I might be able to keep... Ooh, big plague. Wow, that's a huge plague. And now all those units are going to come down to 1 on their actual HP. They still have their shields, but that still does a significant amount of damage. Like, I think Dragoons have something like 100 shield, 100 HP, something like that. I think it's equal. So you do basically half damage to a bunch of units with 1 spell. And here he's making the Guardians. He's morphing the Mutalisks into Guardians. Guardians are a long-range siege unit. If you're coming from StarCraft 2, they're kind of like the Brood Lord, except they just attack themselves. They don't shoot out mini units. And this might be GG. I don't know what Shuttle can do with this. That was a really nice tactical move. Sorry, what Killer... I'm getting confused. That was a nice move by Shuttle, moving in. He sensed that Killer's army was out of position to defend the main, and with a small choke like that, 1 or 2 Darkstorms can just make your Lurkers ridiculously strong. And that's what he's done. He's moved in now, and I think that Killer has army. I think that Killer has army in that Fog of War somewhere. He just doesn't know what to do with it. I think he's trying to muster 2 forces to do a pincer attack, and here it comes. Here it comes. He's bringing in the army. He's gonna clean this up. But watch up in the top right. Watch Killer's supply. Oh, and the Guardians are just wreaking havoc, and they're taking back that base again. That base which has been contested so many times. Watch Killer's supply though. He's at 152, 152, but he's got 2k minerals and 1.5k gas, so he should be back up to 200 pretty quickly. Although I say that, and he hasn't. Okay, now he's at 162, 165, 170, and he's just going to keep rising. And we'll see him back at 200, and I'm guessing he'll be attacking again pretty soon. He could push on with these Guardians. He could keep moving around the map in a sort of clockwise route. I think if he does this, one risk though is that if he does this, they're vulnerable right now. They got nothing under them protecting them. Not that Killer has much army, but yep, here's the danger. 1 Corsair against Guardians is enough to drive him back. So I think he should bring those Guardians back to his army, bring everything together, and then go use them as a siege unit in these big battles. You don't want to risk having Guardians, which is such a costly, powerful unit, out by themselves. And if those Archons get under the Guardians, he's going to split them because you don't want to lose them to the splash damage. If those Archons get under the Guardians, especially if the Guardians are grouped, Archons will win that fight. So the Guardians are like the Lurkers; they want to stay far back and they want to attack from distance and not really trade blows. So he's at 180 supply. Now he's taking his base again, and this feels like he may have taken enough control of this game that he's not going to lose that base again. It feels like that. Although, again, first-person VODs are always hard. They're always hard to commentate because you don't know what the other side is doing, and I really don't have that great a grasp of what his supply is or what tech he's got. Although at this point he's pretty much got all the tech he wants. One not so great storm hits 1 Guardian. It does go down, but I'm not sure if that's enough. I'm not sure if he has enough storms to be using them like that. I think he needs some really good storms, not just okay storms. Because look at his army; it's pretty small. It's a handful of Archons which are strong, but they're alone, and they're 5 Archons is not enough to take on a 200 supply Zerg army. And look at this. He's look at what Killer's doing. He's just saying, I'm going to control the middle of the map. You have a small army. Here's another Templar drop. It's going to be good. It's going to kill a couple Hydras and a couple drones. It wasn't fantastic, but it was good, and I think he makes it out with his Templar. Although, nope, now he looks like he's going to lose that shuttle. And here's the kind of half-hearted second prong of the 2-prong attack, although he didn't really commit there. But anyways, look at what Killer's doing. He's moved into the middle of the map, and he has complete vision of that entire raised middle platform of the map. Shuttle can't really attack into that. Not that he'd want to, but he's really stuck on the top quarter strip of the map right now, where his bases are. And I think Killer's going to be able to dictate how these battles go now, because he just has too much map control. He's keeping these Guardians back. And if Killer, nice storm there, but if Killer comes forward, he's going to send in a bunch of links. Although there's not that much reinforcement here, Killer might be in trouble. Shuttle might be able just to bust forward. He needs some units over there. You got to bring units to the left, man. Your Guardians are alone. If he loses these Guardians, that's a big loss. And that may have been an opportunity there for Shuttle to sprint forward and snipe all those Guardians. I think he actually did kill most of them, but not all of them. And okay, here's a big counter. And now he's got him trapped. He's got the entire Protoss army trapped. And he just needs to get 1 or 2 Darkstorms down and 1 or 2 Lurkers, and this whole thing will just die. He's got the shuttle there. There's a chance here for some really great shuttle micro by shuttle with the shuttle micro. But he's kind of just stuck in here. He's kind of stuck between a ramp on one side and a pretty narrow stroke on the other. And I think that Shuttle is in trouble. I think Killer should just move in and say, you're not going to leave here. You're not going to leave this unless you want to run into my Lurkers and take a really cost-inefficient trade. And right now, I don't think Shuttle has the economy to remax if he loses his army. Oh, but it's the reverse. It's the reverse pincer. He pincered the guy that was trying to pincer. Now Shuttle's coming in from both sides. I don't know if it's enough. I don't know how much army he has on the right there. Um, it looks like it. It looks like his army's not really committing from the right. Big plague! Big plague goes down, and now all these units are so squishy. They're just gonna die, and that's probably gonna be GG. That's disappointing because Shuttle had a big army. Look at all those zealots and dragoons there. If he had brought those in at the same time, but they didn't. They didn't come in and fight. And he, instead of fighting with both his armies at once, he went one at a time, and he let his entire army on the left, which was all his power units, his Archons and his Reavers and his Shuttle, he let all those die without the basic gateway units to be his foot soldiers, you know? It's like chess. You don't move your queen out on its own. You gotta move the pawns first with it. You can lose pawns, they're expendable and replaceable, but you can't lose your queen and your rooks. And your Reavers are those units. Oh, and I think that's GG. I think at this point he just doesn't have the economy. I mean, this game may drag out longer, but that was a pretty definitive win. That was a pretty definitive win for Shuttle. Sorry, for Killer. I keep mixing them up. He had the toss army pincered. There was a chance for the counter pincer, and he just didn't execute it. So he's floating around 140 supply now. He is starting to struggle on gas. Sorry, I just need some water there. So he's got a couple gas units. Like you can see him making one Reaver, a few Templar, but mostly his army is Zealots at this point. And Zealots against against Guardians, I'll give you one guess as to who wins that, and it's not the Zealots, especially Zealots that are plagued. This just feels like this game is pretty much over, right? I mean, all his units are plagued. It's all Zealots. He's got a couple Storms, but Storm alone, Storm can soften up an army, but it usually can't kill it, right? So I don't know though. I mean, even as I'm saying this, Shuttle is able to repel that, repel the Zerg forces from that base once again, and Zerg is starting to dwindle in supply. He's down to only about 120, 130. He's got a couple Guardians. I think the one thing that's keeping Shuttle in this fight is that Killer has given up some of his Guardians, kind of, I would say, kind of carelessly. He had that one point where he had a whole control group of them on the left side, and they all just kind of died, while he had his Lings and Hydra just kind of chilling in the middle of the map. And you can't do that. You can't, you can't let your power units die in vain. So he's making a couple more Guardians, but he's got to take care of these. This is actually kind of insane. Killer, I wouldn't say he's in trouble, but this is kind of becoming an even game again, and he's still sticking. He's so tenacious with the storm drops. Can we see one? Can we see one? Nice. Gonna kill some of those Lings. Yep, that's a very cost efficient drop. One more. One more. Ooh, he whiffs on that one, and he leaves the Templar behind. But overall, just the fact. I'm sorry, my throat is starting to get quite sore. Overall, the fact that he's being so tenacious with these and consistently dropping is really it's quite fun to watch, and it's impressive. It's so easy in late game Brood War to just focus on your macro, focus on winning the fights in the middle of the map. But if you can keep darting through and harassing, ooh, big Reaver shots. Oh, and there's some big, there's some big high priority targets here that if he could have sniped with Lynx would have been big. But the Zealot backup, Zerg needs to get out. Zerg cannot win this fight. Yeah, you're coming in with two. Get out, Zerg. You're going to lose your entire army. Oh, man. You hate to see that. GG. I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to talk about the game just for a second. That entire game, I wouldn't say that Zerg was ahead, but Zerg was in a good position. He was ahead on one base. He had a couple points where he took out Shuttle's bases. He had that one really nice move where he sieged up against Shuttle's natural, where it almost looked like he was going to break into the natural and into the main. I really think, though, that the big turning point there was when he threw away 12 Guardians, really for nothing. I was talking about it as it happened, and I just think that's the point where Shuttle got back in the game. And after that, there was a couple small skirmishes, but without those Guardians, Killer was never able to win a real head-to-head battle. Your late game tech as Zerg is going to be either Guardians or Ultras, and there he went Guardians, which is fine, but you gotta protect him, right? Ultras, yeah, Ultras want to get in the front of battle and they want to hit stuff. Or what do they do? They gore stuff with their tusks? Do they have tusks? Guardians don't want to do that. Guardians do not want to be. Guardians are delicate peaches. They want to stay far away because they bruise easily. And when he threw away those 12, and it was so frustrating because he had Zerglings in the middle of the map and Hydras. He had 30 supply. They're just hanging out. If he had used those, in the fight, he may have completely turned the tide of that fight, and I think even won the game. So yeah, I think that was kind of the point where he just lost. He had some good Dark Swarms. He had some good Plagues. I think he played a pretty good standard game as far as doing everything else right. Shuttle was being really aggressive with the Templar drops, and he, for the most part, Killer did a good job of deflecting those and not losing too much to him. He lost a little bit, but that's kind of inevitable. I really think he did most things right. Just that one mistake, losing a control group of Guardians. Guardians are what? Are they 2 supply? I don't know. I'm gonna guess they're 2 supply, but they're 2 supply, so that's 24 supply of heavy hitting, expensive, gas intensive units that take a long time to make, guys. If you want to make Guardians, you gotta make Mutas first and then Guardians. It takes forever, and then they're slow. So after you make them, they gotta float their way over somewhere, and that takes a long time also. So if you lose them, it's costly and time intensive to replace them, and that's what happened. And after he lost those, that was the backbone of his army. And after that, an army of just Lurker, Ling, Hydra. It's good in the mid game, but in the late game against Storm and Archons and Reavers, it's not enough. You need something else a little heavier. And he lost it, and then I think he lost the game. I'm a little surprised because even 2 minutes before that game ended, I thought that Killer was kind of in okay position. I don't think it hit me how important the Guardians were until the game was over, and I'm thinking about it now. But anyways, that's enough. I've sort of been rambling for a while. Overall, it was a fun game to cast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you want to see another cast, send me a game or just leave a comment saying, I want to see a game. And if you want to see a TVP or a PvP or whatever you want to see, let me know, and maybe I'll do one. If you do want to see a specific game, send it to me, and I'll probably do it. Again, I'm thinking about casting the show matches tomorrow with Bisu and C and 2 other players who I can't remember off the top of my head. Which are at 11 p.m. Eastern on Friday. If you want to see those, leave a comment and encourage me, and I might do it. Otherwise, I hope you guys are enjoying these. I may do another one, and this is Born to Pun signing off.